All right. Hello, hello.
Hi.
This is episode 8. I know we say this every single week, but it just seems like it's so crazy that it's episode week 8.
I know. I am so proud.
Is it 8 or is it 7? No, it's 8.
I don't know.
Yeah,
But
it's
I am
8.
proud that we have been so consistent.
Yeah.
And it's so fun to have people come up and talk to us
Yeah,
about
it
this
actually
podcast.
is. It always takes me back a little bit because I'm like, I don't, in my head, like nobody's listening. I mean, I know, I actually have quite a few people that listen to this, but it's like whenever I hear somebody like come up to us and ask about the podcast, I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's so
Nobody
nice.
does that with Secrets of the Self-Made. So
Yeah.
there might be a message in there for me. But
no.
there was, I know I told you this, but when I was volunteering at Panaprog,
Yeah,
this
I know, that's what I'm talking
super
about.
cute gal came up to me and she's like, I think I know your daughter. She's like, are you the
Yeah.
owner of Self-Made You? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have arrived. Somebody has recognized me. I'm like, yes. And she's like, is your daughter Gracie?
Yeah.
She's like, I listened to your podcast. It was
Yeah,
so
she's so sweet for that. That was
awesome.
so nice of her to actually, and brave. I get like not even knowing who you are.
Well, she's listened to us, so she knows
Yeah.
that we're nice people.
Yeah. We're like family here. Everybody, all our listeners are like family now.
And all of our clients. Man,
Yeah.
do
Well,
they
yes,
ever
of
know like our
course.
deepest, darkest secrets, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So how's it going? How was your weekend?
Weekend was fun. We were up
Country
at
jam.
Yeah, we were in Eau Claire, so we were in your stomping grounds,
Yeah.
which is fun. That
That's
is
so nice.
such a beautiful town.
Yeah.
We absolutely love country music, and so we've kind of pre-bought, like we buy our tickets typically right after, Country Jam ends, we buy them for the next year. It really, we don't even know who the artists are going to be, but it's such a
Yeah.
fun experience that we're all
it's the
about it.
best.
And we're always kind of surrounded by really fun people because it's all of your friends.
Yeah, and it's so funny because we've done country music festivals for a really long time, and we always did ones like we did the Tree Town, which was closer to Griffin's school at the time, and then once I started at Eau Claire, we realized that there was Country Jam and Country Fest and whatever. So, and then of course that's like a really big thing for people that go to Eau Claire to be a part of. So then it was always just so fun. Like I was always with my friends, and then I had my family there camping, and it's just so fun.
Makes
I
it
love Country
convenient
Jam.
for you, right?
It makes it really convenient for me. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so fun. I'm still hurting a little bit. I like have just slowly been getting my voice back from the weekend. It's so funny because my friend Lauren was there with us, and she just texted me today, and we had been talking about going to WeFest, and she was just like, yeah, I don't think it's going to work out this year. I was like, it's okay. It honestly makes me a little queasy to think about WeFest at this point.
Yeah, the recovery is
Yeah,
rough.
it is very rough, but it's so worth it. It's one time a year, so.
Yeah, I will say it's such a good reminder to me of why I have decided to not drink anymore, because
Yeah.
those were
Yeah.
like the times where I would for sure overdo it. And then I would wake up the next morning and beat myself up over the
Yeah.
fact that I don't, remember the artist that I was so excited about seeing,
Right.
or, I don't think I did anything like too crazy or anything real embarrassing, but I would beat myself up because I didn't really remember
Well, and
the
just, like-
magnitude and all that the night had to offer. And so I not only wake up remembering every bit of it, but I also feel great the next
Yeah,
day.
the physical pain.
Unlike some people I know.
Yeah, it makes for a rough recovery, but we're doing better now, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that WeFest is like a whole nother level of that, so I don't think my body would handle it very well
Yeah.
in just like a week later.
Yeah.
But yeah,
As a mom, I'm glad to hear you're not going.
yeah, maybe next year.
Yeah.
Anything fun planned for the weekend?
This coming weekend, we have a baby shower, a
Oh, yes.
dual baby shower.
Yes, that's so exciting.
That will be so fun.
Yeah. It's with our old neighbors.
Yeah.
That we don't ever really get to see except for bigger things like this when somebody's having a baby or getting married. So
Yeah. Yep.
it's nice.
That'll be fun. I will be spending some time with Grandma. My mom lives with my sister's family, and my sister's family is going out of town this weekend. So I'm on Grandma duty. So I will be transporting her to and from dialysis
Yeah.
and spending a little bit more time with her. So that's probably going to be the bulk of the weekend.
Yeah. I have nothing planned and I'm so excited about it other than the baby shower, but
And working on the website.
and working on the website.
Gracie has been
Exactly.
up to her eyeballs in website like craziness.
Yeah.
But you're doing a great job.
Yeah, it's
So-
coming together. Just, yeah, I literally don't leave my spot. I finally know what you're talking about when you're saying I feel so,
Consuming.
yeah,
It
is
is.
so consuming.
It is. But if you enjoy being creative and really solving problems, finding solutions.
I do enjoy finding solutions, so that's what's keeping me going.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And that's such a good motivator. So, yeah, I'm excited that Dad got home late last night and I was still working. I was actually watching a webinar
Fishing League,
from Fishing League, from the, is it called
one of the 5
Is it
leagues.
Donkey Fish or Fish Donkey? I think it's
I don't
Fish
even
Donkey.
know. I don't even know.
And he gets home and had to tell me all about the fish that they caught.
Oh.
And I wanted to show him the website. And show him how
Oh.
far you had come. And he was like, oh my gosh, Gracie's done all of this? I'm like, yeah. So
You can tell him to up my pay grade now. Yeah, it's okay. It'll get done soon, so.
I have no doubt.
Yeah. Yep, but we just thought that after coming off of our big fat fails week that it would be good to kind of talk about those more of our solutions rather than our problems. So this week is becoming
The solution.
the solution.
Yes.
Yes.
And that really resonates with me. It probably doesn't resonate as much with Gracie, but for me, it is super meaningful. It like almost chokes me up because I feel like I spent so much of my life thinking of myself as the problem. And so to really like wrap my mind around the fact that I might have been wrong about that and that I'm actually the solution, that I don't have to look outside of myself any longer, because that is a fruitless, is that the right word? I don't know, fruitless.
I don't think
That doesn't
is
sound
the
like the right word, but that is useless.
Yeah, there you go.
That is that's a kind of like a dead end, really.
Yeah.
If you are always looking for something or someone who's going to be kind of that magic bullet, it is very defeating. And I lived a lot of years feeling that way, that it was somebody else that was either going to solve my problem or something else. And I really believed that I was kind of this walking, breathing problem. Like I was constantly keeping track of all of the problems that I needed to solve.
Right.
And, reminding myself, maybe I would, have a brief escape from that. And, but my mind was kind of always scanning for what's the problem of the day. And the common denominator was me. And so, yeah, I thought, as of recent, I've really recognized how I am no longer the problem. I don't think of myself as the problem. I think of myself actually as the solution. And so when we came up with this title, I really thought about who this could help.
Right.
And I hope that there are people that can kind of resonate with those thoughts and those feelings, because I feel you. I want to help you get out of that unnecessary suffering, kind of that self-loathing. It's a brutal cycle. It's so destructive. And so I really want to kind of share what my thoughts were that created, me feeling like I was the problem. And so we no longer think that anymore. We think we're the solution.
We are all the solutions we need. Yeah, we are done looking outside of ourselves first, at least. At least trying things first to see what we're capable of. We are now in full mode of becoming our own solutions and seeing where it takes us. So I think that it will take us a lot further, probably, than what we were doing in the past. And it's all a part of...
Well, you're talking about business, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of elaborate on that. Like, what were we doing and how have we become the solution?
Well, website design is a big one. I think that we were just talking about it. You, like 3 years ago today, we were in the exact same position as we were a week ago, where you were outsourcing your website to somebody else that did not follow through and wasn't doing what you wanted, or we just ended up with a website that you didn't want, basically.
Yeah. And to be fair, I have really kind of come to the conclusion that these people that I was hiring, I had an expectation. And
Right.
Granted, they use a lot of marketing like jargon that have you believing that they are going to be that magic bullet. And I am somebody that's very easily sold to. So
Very easily sold to.
I tend to believe everything everybody says.
Yeah.
But realistically, why would I expect somebody outside of me who truly understands what it is that I'm trying to, put out in the marketplace, who really truly understands my mission, my values? Why would I expect somebody to beautifully illustrate that when they aren't me? So I probably had some unrealistic expectations, but yeah, ironically, it was 3 years ago, like honestly this month, that I was outsourcing it. And since then I've outsourced it numerous times.
Right.
And it's just so interesting that I finally come to that conclusion. There is nobody better to create a website that, illustrates who we are, what we stand for, what it is that we have to offer.
Right.
There's nobody better than us to do that.
Well, and I think a big part of it too was that going back and forth through email or chat or whatever with the people that were creating our website, one is so time consuming. Two, it just becomes frustrating because it's like when you want things done or when we need things done or switched on the website, like we need it done right away. So in reality, it doesn't really matter who's doing it. It's always going to be more efficient that we learn it ourselves so that we can go in there and change the things that need changing when they need changing. And I think that is one of the biggest lessons out of that was, and I was just listening to a podcast and they said your biggest asset as an entrepreneur is your knowledge. Like that's something that will never be stripped from you. And the more you learn, like the more you get out of it, just the better off you're going to be down the road. It's like, these are all things that our website is very important to our company. Like this is something that we should both be very knowledgeable in anyways. And so, yes, while it's nice to have some work taken off of our plate and having somebody else in there helping us with things, it's also just like very vital that we learn it ourselves. And so that has been definitely one of the biggest parts of the business that at least I've taken on right now to become the solution for us. And yeah, I just think that we'll be much better off at the end of the day knowing how to do these things ourselves.
Yeah.
So
that's an example of what we mean when we say, we are becoming the solution. We think of ourselves as the solution. I think of myself as the expert. I don't believe that there is anybody else out there who is more of an expert on self-made you than me.
Right.
And yet I had all these expectations that, somebody was going to create a better financial model. Somebody was going to create a better, website. Somebody was going to create a better marketing plan. It's like,
Right.
I didn't really ever give myself the credit because I was operating from these kind of misguided, beliefs.
And again, I think that it is important to note that like having those resources behind you when you get to a point where we can't be doing all of it on our own, or to a point where we've exceeded our knowledge and could use some help. I don't think it's a bad thing to hire on or outsource, but you need to learn it first. And we should be able to train anybody in on what we're doing because we're so knowledgeable on everything that's going on. And we were definitely not in that place. Like, we could never take our website and hand it to somebody else that's not an expert in Kajabi or website or whatever, because we don't know how to do it ourselves. And I think that is like, that was the biggest thing that we were missing with a lot of our problems, is that we don't try to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Try to learn how to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So.
And I didn't even try, quite honestly.
Yeah,
I didn't even
exactly.
try because I believed that somebody else
could do it.
could do it better.
Yeah,
And
right.
so that, I think it's a great example to help people understand what we mean by becoming the solution. And so, what most people can deduct from that is that you probably at one point thought you were the problem.
Sure.
So I think this is a great way to illustrate it. But this also shows up quite often in people's lives, on the topic or subject of relationships, in their health, people who want to lose weight, finances, that's a big one. Productivity,
people's careers.
Right. Yeah. So I really want you to consider, those of you who are listening, the 19 of you who are listening, I really want you to consider, do you think of yourself as the problem, the, common denominator, and the cause of whatever it is that you're experiencing? Or do you think of yourself as the solution? And I'm willing to bet it's probably, that you feel like you're the problem. And I just want you to consider, how could you be the solution? Or consider, maybe you were wrong. Maybe you were wrong about that. And, when there is a common denominator, if you want to really kind of deduct, like, well, if it's not me, what is it? It truly is the way you've decided to think, either unintentionally or intentionally. We are all exposed to so much messaging. We've been indoctrinated into certain cultural and social messaging. So I think that certainly has a big play in this. But I also think that, we have kind of this compounded suffering going on. And so those people who have had many failed attempts at losing weight, they believe that they are a failure, and that leads to kind of stagnant, growth or lack of growth in their professional career.
Yeah.
They literally think that they are broken, unworthy, unvalued, and they start to see it playing out in other areas of their life. And so I just want you to consider, you might be wrong.
You should give an example of the weight loss.
Yeah, well, so I know a lot of people, including myself, I used to think that permanent weight loss was unavailable to me. Like, I believed I could lose the weight because I had had lots of evidence and past experiences where I could lose the weight. But keeping it off, like permanent weight loss, I truly believed was unavailable to me. And the negative self-talk that would kind of go along with that was because I'm broken, because I am unlike anyone else. Other people could achieve permanent weight loss, but that just was not something I could do because I was somehow problematic. And then my brain would like try to look for all the evidence, like
spin
I'm
out.
hypoglycemic. You know, it's like I would have all of these. I have a sweet tooth.
It's genetics.
Yeah, it's genetic. I'm big boned. All the things. Like my brain would.
So funny.
I know you're probably too young to like be able to relate to that, but that used to be a thing.
I just think it's so funny. Like people used to say, "I'm just big boned."
Okay, it sounds funny now, but
I've heard it before. I just think it's so funny that. I mean, there's millions of other things that people say now, but yeah, that's funny.
right, yeah, or like I have a slow metabolism. That's another
Right,
one that a lot of people will
Yeah.
kind of get behind.
Right.
And the negative self-talk that goes along with that is I'm just broken.
Yeah.
Like I am kind of I am the problem.
Right.
I'm unfixable, right? And, that is just a part of your brain that is very dramatic. It often is not offering you like the truth.
Right.
It's really trying to keep you safe and trying to keep you alive. And so you tend to react from these thoughts without even questioning them.
Right.
And that's exactly what I did for almost my entire life. I never questioned those thoughts. Like, am I really big boned?
Does this really make sense?
So I now have learned to really question that thinking because I've learned what the primitive brain is capable of.
Yeah.
And my gosh, it can do so much damage
Yeah.
if it's not being watched.
No
Like
kidding.
you literally have to watch that part of your brain all day, every day. Otherwise it can be super destructive. And Lord knows nobody taught me that there was two parts of your brain and that part of it is meant to keep you safe. It's
Right.
always in survival mode when I'm not in any danger, but yet I'm sitting here listening and believing all of these primitive brain thoughts and reacting to them, so for example, like a primitive brain thought is you walk through the kitchen and you see a plate of cookies and your primitive brain says, you better eat those, otherwise you're going to die or they might not be there when you come back. Obviously, that's a very dramatic
that
thought.
one quite.
Yeah, that one's very familiar to me.
We can't have sweets
Still
in the
comes
house.
to visit quite often. Yeah, exactly. Griffin was eating the cookies the other day, and I literally wanted to give him the biggest hug and said, I think I did say to him, thank you for eating those so I don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But isn't that just kind of, it's ironic and we can sit here and laugh about it, but that's a thought, that survival thought that you better eat those right now while they're available. That's so dramatic. And it's not
might
even
as well just have one.
right. Like, why?
Yeah.
So questioning your thoughts, but you have to be in your prodigy brain, or AKA your prefrontal cortex. You have to be operating from that part of your brain to even have an awareness of how silly, how dramatic those thoughts are, or that you're even having them. I'm not as good at seeing those thoughts. Like they're kind of running in the background. So I'm not super keen on when those thoughts are happening. But what I am really good at is picking up on the feeling that they cause.
Yeah.
So kind of that panicky feeling, that kind of urgent feeling, those are the kind of feelings that I feel in relationship to food quite often. And if I'm being honest, around alcohol too. It was like, one glass was never enough.
Which I think is very relatable to a lot of people with food and alcohol.
Yes.
Just
Like
that's part of the socialized
more is better.
aspect
Like
of
these
it.
are all thoughts that I would operate from that would have me reacting without ever even having any awareness of what was really going on.
Yeah.
And so now I know that, I have two parts of my brain.
Right.
One is way stronger and it runs on default. It's like autopilot.
Yeah.
So I have to stay aware. And so it takes me like proactively strengthening that other part of my brain so I can stay aware. And so I can believe that I am no longer the problem and I actually am the solution.
Yeah.
So I'm using my brain to kind of fight my brain, if that makes sense. And, being the solution looks like, actively strengthening the part of the brain that I want to operate from.
Right. Yeah, I think the primitive brain thoughts about alcohol is so interesting because it's something that, nobody until they know thinks about their primitive brain thoughts that way. But I think that alcohol especially is such an interesting one because when you go to a social event, it's like I have to have alcohol to either get through this social event or make it fun. And it's like neither are true, but we've been so socialized to the point where it's your first thought, like,
And you don't
is there going to
question
be
it.
alcohol there? Or if there is alcohol there, then I've got to have some. Yeah, and you don't question it. It's so interesting, especially I think, I think all ages, but college kids especially, I think that there was never a party or a place or something that I went to on the weekend that didn't involve alcohol. And it's like, why? Not because we couldn't have fun without it, or we couldn't think of better things to do, but it just is like social events just are like surrounded by alcohol because that's how it's socialized to be. And I think that even there would be times in college where, because I get sick all the time, I can't keep up really with everybody else my age. And so there would be times where I would not drink for the night or whatever. And like, I would have my brain spinning out like, oh, like this sucks. Like I'm going to have to sit here sober while everyone's drinking and I'm not going to have any fun because I can't have fun at a party without drinking. And it's so interesting because that's so dramatic. Like I have fun all the time when I'm not drinking, like on a weekday. And it's like, why is it that as soon as we hit the weekend, it's like, nope, if you don't have alcohol in your hand, you are not going to have fun. Like it's just, and that's with anything in life that you're letting your primitive brain offer you thoughts on. And it's so...
And we could probably talk for days about this topic alone because those saboteur narratives that we, that are most prominent in our life, it's like the people pleaser. So you know what the people pleaser would sound like? Like
that would be me.
Yeah, I don't want to let down my friends or I'm going to be worried about what they're thinking of me if I don't drink, right? And then you tend to get kind of resentful because now you feel like you're doing something against your will or that you're trying to kind of manipulate what it is that they think about you.
Or like hide not drinking.
Yep.
To avoid it.
The judge is a big one, I think, that shows up in the context of drinking. Like you tend to judge yourself. You judge the circumstance like, oh, it's a party, I have to drink.
Yeah.
Or you judge other people, right? So,
well, and it's not to say either, like, we're not saying that, like, you can't go out, like, you shouldn't go out and have fun with alcohol if that's what you want to do. It's in cases that you aren't, like, when I was sick or whatever reason I had for not wanting to drink, and then I would go to these social events and then just feel lousy and like judged or whatever for not drinking. And it's like, or I would judge myself for not drinking. And that was the biggest thing. It was like,
or for drinking.
Yeah. And it was like, there's just no reason. And until you actually put your thoughts into question, it's like, would I actually have had fun? Absolutely. I know how to have fun without drinking. And it's like, I just got in my own head and like,
yeah. So what's the actual cause of all of this? Her primitive brain.
Right.
Right. And so this is what we mean. It's really not you. You're not broken. You just you haven't been taught how to manage, how to be aware of that primitive brain that tends to hijack us. And now that you do know, like you are actively strengthening your prodigy brain, you do have a tool that you can use. Like the self-operating system works really well in any situation, any circumstance, but you now have that tool where you can start playing with or trying on the thought that maybe I was wrong about that. Maybe I'm not actually the problem.Maybe the problem is I just hadn't yet been taught like how to actually be the solution or how to use a tool, right? And oh, by the way, all of these steps are like inherently within you. None of it is outside of you. So yeah, I mean, I think it's like the $1 million thought right there, where you start to think of yourself as the solution.
Yeah, relationships is definitely another big one. Obviously, everybody has relationships in their life, no matter what they look like, whether it's with family, like a significant other, friends, a relationship with yourself. There's always primitive brain thoughts that will offer up that you're the problem. And it's like...
Or somebody else is the problem.
Or somebody else is the problem, yeah.
Neither of those are true.
Yeah. No, it's just your thoughts about them or yourself that is the actual problem. And it's like once you start
you learn to think differently.
Yeah. And I think that I'm trying to think of a good example of it. But I mean, in past relationships that I've been in, I mean, I've definitely thought that other people are the problem too, but I feel like anytime I've gotten out of a relationship then I'm just like, oh, well, I guess I'm the problem now. Like, what am I doing wrong? Or why does this or why am I keep falling for this? Or whatever the thing is. And it's like, no. Like, that's just my primitive brain, like trying to spin out and try to keep me safe. And so that to avoid the pain or whatever. And it's, in reality, it's like, no, you're not broken. You're getting stuck on these thoughts that are not serving you. You're getting stuck on all the ways that your primitive brain is offering you that you're the problem and you should have done this, or if you would have done that, then they wouldn't be upset with you, or this wouldn't have happened. And it's like that never serves you. Never. That is never like a healthy way to treat your problems or try to find solutions. You'll never get there. Yeah. If you're allowing those primitive brain thoughts to keep you spinning out.
Right. Yeah. And so the remedy, it starts with awareness. It really starts with awareness around what it is that you actually want.
Right.
So many of us don't even ask ourselves that question.
Right.
Like, what is it from this relationship that I actually want?
Yeah.
How do I want to be feeling? How do I want to be showing up? That is a great place to start. Heighten your awareness. Recognize, once you know what it is that you want, recognize, like, where are you in relation to that? Okay, so an easy example for that is like when somebody says, I want to lose weight. Okay, how do you want to be feeling? What kind of result are you looking to achieve? It's obviously easier when we're talking numbers. And now, where are you in relationship to what it is that you want? One of the most important steps that I think so many people lose sight of is realizing or having an awareness around what actually got them to where they're at right now. So I was just on a podcast earlier today, and they were like, so what separates your weight loss program from all the rest? And I'm like, well, several things, but if we're just going to, generally speaking, weight loss programs will give you a list of actions, and they'll hand it off and say, just go on your way and check the boxes, right? they aren't putting you in the right frame of mind to organically do these actions. It feels like you have to do these actions, right, in order to get something that you don't have. That is no way of going about getting a different result. Like, you do not want to be driven by any sort of, dread, restriction, I don't know, desperation. Those aren't the feelings you want to be driving the actions that you're taking. So first and foremost, they aren't actually setting you up to take action from a good feeling or create sustainable results. And they aren't showing you what actually led you to the result that you're currently experiencing, because it is a belief that's creating a feeling in your body that drove you to overeat.
Right.
Without understanding that, your future results will not be sustainable because your primitive brain is way too strong.
Yeah.
It loves habit. It will go back to believing those same old BS thoughts that it believed that got you the result that you're currently at.
Right.
And so,
well, it's just you've never even put those thoughts into question. So of course it's going to just keep
exactly.
sitting on replay.
Yeah. So having that awareness is a quantum leap in the right direction. And of course, most programs don't offer that to you because they know you'll be back.
Yeah, exactly.
So you aren't the problem. You aren't broken. You literally have not been taught how to think, right? We are all taught very well what to think. We are not taught how to think. And so starting with awareness is a huge first step in the right direction. And Gracie's probably thinking right now, okay, Mom, enough coaching.
No, I think it's all important. I was thinking about how we talked about our goals, and I'm just like, every goal has a list of problems. Or your failures that you have to get through to hit your goals. And I think that that is such a big part of why we are becoming the solution for ourselves, is that if you sit there and let your primitive brain spin you out on all the reasons why you're the problem and why you failed, you're absolutely never going to hit those goals. Or you might, but it's going to take you a lot longer, and you're definitely not going to enjoy the process trying to get there. And so I think that that's what I was thinking about as you were talking.
Yeah.
Is that this just ties all back to those big goals that we have set.
Yeah. If you want to have like a mental fitness routine, think about all the people who go to the gym to tone up their arms, right? They're going and making a commitment and lifting the heavy weights to, build the muscle, right? So you have to do the exact same thing for your brain. You have to strengthen that part of your brain. And there is no better mental fitness routine or gym than creating a goal, setting a goal, because that is where you're going to have obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. And it is really getting you the at-bats, right? Like the opportunity to strengthen your prodigy brain. And I know that to be true because if that wasn't true, you'd already be there. Right? Like, so your primitive brain was absolutely holding you back. If it wasn't, you would already have what it is that you desire.
Right.
And so, you want to strengthen that prodigy brain, set a goal.
No kidding. Yeah. Yeah, it's become very apparent, especially after our big fat week of fails.
But we learned.
Yeah, we definitely learned through the growing pains of those. So
we were gonna talk about like something that we could offer you guys, or something. Obviously we've offered you lots of coaching, but talking about music, I love music. I love live music more than
She told me she wanted to add this in, and I was like, how are you going to add that in? Well, she's just going to say it.
Yeah.
This is her favorite.
There is no clever segue.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's not even subtle.
No.
I love live music. I actually love all kinds of music, whether it's live or it's on Spotify or whatever. But I have playlists, tons of playlists that I've created that kind of create an atmosphere, create an environment where I feel more motivated. And I think that that's really important for people. Like, if you have an awareness that you're really feeling, something unwanted, depressed, worthless, frustrated, overwhelmed, sad, sometimes something as easy and obvious as music can really help you. You want to do whatever you can to kind of quiet down those narratives that are going on in your mind, that your primitive brain is kind of running on loop. And I have found personally that music has helped.
Best playlist ever.
I have the best playlist. So we will put a link to a playlist that I think is just kind of helpful. Gracie will hate it, but my clients will love it.
Yeah, I think the kind of music you listen to says so much about you. So
great. Oh, you go judge away.
Yeah, maybe I'll put mine in there so we can really get the contrast of me and my mom.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Okay, well, I'm glad you shared.
Just so subtly got that in there.
Yeah. Well, this was a good 8th episode, and yeah, anything else that you want to give them?
No, I really
Content?
hope. Yeah, I really hope that we have people, if this resonates with you, and if you have tried on that thought that maybe I was wrong about being the problem, shoot us a note. We'd love to hear from you. And
yeah, we should start taking in like questions or comments or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll leave an email for you. I'm also going to leave a question at the end of the episode and ask if anybody's actually going to listen to your playlist.
Yeah, let us know if you've listened to my playlist.
Yeah. Okay, well, we hope you all have a great rest of your week at whatever point you are listening to us at this week.
Yep, we'll see you next week.